Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the BFNL Netball Show preliminary final edition for season 2015. That also means it's our penultimate edition, Kimmy. Obviously, second last one. Getting very much towards the business end of the season now. Some great netball being played.
Yeah, getting really excited now, and 1 week off till the big dance. So, yeah, looking forward to a good weekend. Should be a great game on the weekend.
Now, last week's show, one of the most widely viewed netball shows we've ever had in its 2 years of existence, and a lot of it is because of this that you see on the screen at the moment, the slow-mo footage of Kim absolutely jumping out of the screen. Tell us a little bit about that when the air horn came out and just Rod Ward got you.
I nearly jumped into your lap.
You did.
It aged me by about 10 years.
So that makes you 30.
Yep, I wish. Yeah, revenge is sweet. That's all I'm saying. Revenge is sweet.
Interesting. Watch this space for that one. Grand final netball show last week. Remember that shoot around that we did with Emma Ryan on the grand final netball show last week? We're going to try and top that this year. So putting that out there for you. Now we've got to go to the thinking caps on and think of something we need to do. Moving straight into it though, semi-finals at last weekend in the BGT A-grade competition, and two fantastic games of netball being played. One of them saw North Ballarat City win through to their first A-grade grand final since 2013. Keeping their undefeated season alive, defeating Lake Wendouree 53-35. Congratulations are in order for Annie McCartan and the North Ballarat City girls winning their way through to the grand final.
Yeah, what a game, what a season. They should be very proud of themselves. So hard to go through a season undefeated. Still got one left though, one hurdle left. And
exactly right.
We've seen a lot of teams trip up in grand finals, but
North City included 2 years ago.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I think they're a really polished team, and they'll have an exceptional grand final. Really disappointing game for Lake Wendouree to go down like they did. It happens sometimes, you know. You get that bad game out the way, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, they'd be disappointed and looking out to avenge their loss this week. Every
team has their bad games from time to time. That's accepted. But I suppose the red flag for me for this one is it's the second time they've done it in a 3-week space against North Ballarat City. And it was 15 goals, well, 18 goals last week. It was 25 goals a couple of weeks back. They're pretty big margins to overcome.
So you've got to think psychologically what it does to them as well. Do you know, do they go out and think this team has thumped us twice? Can we do it again? Of course, any team can do it again.
Exactly.
But, you know, psychology plays such a big part in sport, so it'll be interesting. They've got a big hurdle to get over first before we can even think about how they're going to cope against North City. They've got to get over Sunbury yet.
Yep. And you took some stats from the game last week, and I suppose the thing that stands out straight away, Jordan Bibby, that shooting percentage back up to where it's been all year, just above 87%.
86%, and interesting point, she was the only goaler out of all goalers throughout both games to shoot in the 80%. So
makes a difference, doesn't it?
Of course it does. So where she's sitting, we had Stacey, who always, Gina, who always plays that support role. She shot at 58%.
Even Annie said so much in the press conference earlier that the GA and her was goal assist, not goal attack.
Yep. And then you look at Mel Allen shot at 75. Kat Biskin 66 and Sasha McDonald at 61. So they were right down. All the goalers were right down. Even in the other game, which we'll touch on, I think Chloe Curran had 77%. That was the most in the other game. But finals are such a pressure cooker environment. You have to shoot the goals in. It's no matter what you are, there's so much pressure on a goaler, and it's how you respond in finals that makes you a great player and can win or lose a game.
Yep.
And unfortunately for goalers, they've got that much pressure on them.
They do indeed. And as we turn our attention to Sunday's first semi-final, we'll see a similar tale of the tape when it comes to the goalers. Sunbury 49 defeating East Point 43. I must admit, as predicted on this show last week by both of us, that Sunbury would get over the line. And again, a close game, and it's a really bitter pill to swallow for East Point. It was 2 goals the week before against the undefeated North Ballarat City. It was 6 goals against Sunbury. A very close game, and all of a sudden, what they had going where they lost 1 game throughout the season is all over.
Yeah, they'd be really disappointed in how they finished off. To lose 1 game and then get out bundled out is just would be devastating for those girls. I think what we discussed last week, Sunbury are so good out of the blocks. And I said to you, if they come out, Sunbury will come out really strong in the first quarter and the third quarter, and that's exactly what they did. And they just broke their spirit. They did come back. East Point. So, but it was just too little, too late. You know. But it's disappointing for them. Sunbury, you know, they got their tails up now. They really have, and they're just. We know they're running into some great form, so it'll be an interesting game this week.
It will, and there's an interesting article in this week's BFNL record. Grab it on your way into the ground. $3, best read you'll find at a local football game this side of the AFL. On the Sunbury Lions and the way that they're getting their confidence up. Tara Murray from the Star Weekly Group got in touch with Elmo during the week, and it's a really good read about how Sunbury have worked their way up to where they are now. Yeah,
I had a chat to Tara about that last night actually, and yeah, so it's a really good article apparently. And Elmo's, it's a hard task for him to come in a team that
big shoes to fill.
No, not that. Just that. They've played a certain way that I've had them playing, and he's had to try and change that, and it has taken a little time, and he's now really put his own stamp on that Sunbury team, which is great. So it's taken a little while, but it's happened, and yeah, they're looking pretty awesome at the moment.
They are indeed, which brings us to this week's preliminary final day in the BGT A-grade Ballarat Football Netball League competition. Before we touch on the A-grade though, let's run the tail of the tape over this Saturday's preliminary final, starting, of course, early in the day with the 19 and under game. North Ballarat City taking on Ballarat. The C-grade preliminary final is Lake Wendouree versus Sunbury. The B-grade preliminary final pits Lake Wendouree, who finished in 5th place, against Sunbury, who finished in 1st. So, really good story there if Lake Wendouree can get the job done. The A-reserve preliminary final is between Ballarat and Lake Wendouree. And the A-grade game, the big one, Lake Wendouree taking on Sunbury, 3rd versus 4th on the ladder. These two teams have met once this year, and it was back in round 2. Lake has won by 15, but that scoreline is inconsequential coming into this game. It was so long ago, completely different sides and completely different form lines. So it's as far as form lines go, it's as open as any game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Lakers do respond. Every player on the court last week were changed, except for Christy James, who's spent the whole game in wing attack for Lake Wendouree. So when things aren't working, you obviously try and make changes, and I've done it myself where you think it's not working, I just have to keep trying making something, and it just doesn't happen. And I think that's what happened to them last week. So they'll have to most probably be a little bit more stable in their lineup. Sasha McDonald was obviously exhausted, and we've heard that you'd have a big down when you come back from nationals, and I think she has. So she'll, I think she'll be better for it this week. She'll most probably line up on maybe Beck Anstey, which will be
will be interesting.
Yeah, so that'll be a really good contest.
We spoke about that last week on the show, how Beck Anstey and Lauren Jew, and how obviously the experience of Beck up against someone as young as Lauren may be a telling factor in the game. And I think Lauren ended up shooting 64% or something last week, which is as low as you'll find for Lauren Jew, because she is as automatic as you find when it comes to finals. So you can see what kind of effect someone like Beck Anstey has on a young shooter. And at the other end, it could be the same, because you've got Emma Gill and Jackie Clifton there, who are very much in the same mould as defenders, very much those kind of annoying, niggling kind of defenders that don't let up on a shooter all day long. And with young shooters like Chloe and Abby in the goal ring for Sunbury as well, it could be a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to really depend on what the lineup starts with Lake Wendouree. I think Kat Biskin started in goal defence last week.
Yep.
So they threw their team around, most probably into an unfamiliar lineup, but they've started, and it most probably backfired on them. So I wonder if they will go back to their tried and proven lineup and see what happens from there. Chloe Curran has again had another great game. Look, her percentages was down as well, 77%, still nothing to be sneezed at, but I would have preferred it to be like 87. But again, the pressure that's applied from the defenders. Lakers are a pretty tall team as well, so they most probably will match them height-wise. So I think that'll be interesting. Where are we going to go with this one, Shaun?
Before we get the tips, a really interesting matchup, I reckon, this week. Kate Fletcher, who is tipped to come back into the side this week and could be coming in cold at wing attack, against arguably one of the best players of the last 24 months in the BFL in Molly Boyle at wing defence.
Yeah, Molly's been
That is going to be a really crucial matchup, because if Molly gets on top early and can really stop that feed, that could really play into Lakers' hands.
Now, Kate Begley for Sunbury played wing attack last weekend and played a really, really good game.
Yep.
So I don't know if I would put Kate on in that case. That might be the lineup that Elmo goes with. I'm not quite sure. I think Molly's a little bit taller and stronger than Kate, if that happens, and I think that'll be a real advantage. Where I think the lineup with Kate versus Molly would be much better.
Kate
Begley. So there's too many Kates.
There is.
So it'll be interesting to see which way they go. So I think that's going to have to depend. We'll have to wait and see depending on the lineup.
Tipping time. What do you reckon? Is it going to be Lake Wendouree, who have been here 1,000 times before and on paper are probably one of the most strongest and versatile sides in the league, or will it be Sunbury, who have caught fire at the right time of the season and worked their way into a third consecutive grand final?
Wow.
Interesting.
It is interesting. You go first.
I'll go first. And I just feel that Lake Wendouree will rebound in this one. It's not going to be by a lot. I think it'll be single figures. But I've just got that feeling that Lakers, they've got a bit of pride to play for this week. They saw what happened against North City last week. They don't lose 2 games in a row all that often. And of course, there's somebody pretty special watching down on them as well, trying to get them through to that grand final. So I just feel Lakers will get through and get their chance.
Well, we've agreed too much. We have agreed too much. So I'm going to disagree. And I don't know whether it's wearing my heart on my sleeve or I just think that Sunbury's coming good at the right time, but I'm going to have to go for Sunbury. But
can't fold it.
It could go anyway. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, one of us is going to be right going into next week.
We'll see.
We will indeed. That is all the time we have for the netball show this week. And do yourself a favour, get down and have a look at these preliminary finals at the Eastern Oval this weekend, because it's going to be a fantastic day of netball and some pretty good footy as well. If you get sick of netball as well, you can just pop down and have a look at the footy games as well. Kimmy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Shaun.
Now the time to put the thinking hats on and see what we can do for the grand final, make the grand final show a bit special.
I'm not doing anything stupid
Try
like you guys
and beat
did
myself and Maddie Wiltshire beating Emma Ryan in the goal shooting contest, which thankfully we did in the end. So all's well that ends well, but we'll find something pretty special.
Find something to make you look stupid and not me.
That won't take much at all. Thanks for joining us on the BFNL Netball Show. We'll see you this weekend at the Netball, and we'll see you next week for the BFNL's Netball Show's Grand Final Edition.